Hello, as you know, my name is Kyneton the Genius, and today I'm going to be taking you on SQL Server Analysis Services. And this is a tutorial I've taken some time to break down to make it very easy, and I put all the steps right here in my website. The first question you might be asking is, what is SSAS, or why is it that many DBAs don't even know much about SSAS? Why is it kind of difficult to learn? So I'm going to be breaking that down at this point. I've also put the step-by-step right here in my website, so you can find the link to this page in the description box of this video below, and you can find this page and follow the step-by-step. I've also created a virtual machine in Windows because SSAS SQL Server from Microsoft runs on Windows. So to get the best out of this simple tutorial, please, I would recommend you subscribe to my channel so that we can do it step-by-step with no step skipped. And if you have any challenges, please leave me a comment, like and share this video if it has been informative for you. So the first question is, let me just quickly clear this issue. Why is SSAS a bit kind of challenging for many? Because SSAS is kind of manages a kind of data that is not real database and also is not big data. And the technology involves different kind of tools. So not just database or not just management studio, but you also need to use Visual Studio. So let's start from the scratch. What is SSAS? SSAS stands for SQL Server Analysis Services. Now I say analytics services because I do data analytics a lot. So it's analysis services is a tool by Microsoft or a service by Microsoft. Using SSAS, you can analyze data that is coming from different data sources and provide summaries. Now with SSAS, you can create data models. A data model is simply input-output process. You take some data, process it, and provide an output. A system that does this is called a data model. You can do it with Python, with any other tool. But SSAS is a tool by Microsoft to create data models, a system that processes data and provides some information, maybe summaries, maybe reports, or some other things, or visualizations and stuff like that. So with SSAS, you can work with two different kind of data models. One is a tabular model. A tabular model is just a kind of database that looks like relational database that stores data in tables in memory. This time not in disk, but in memory. It's a bit more advanced kind of data than normal relational database, and it uses tables and other relational components like relationships, joins, rows, columns, etc. So that is the starting point, building a tabular model. That's what we are going to be doing after now. Now with SSAS, you can now also create multi-dimensional data model. Multi-dimensional data model now kind of looks like big data because it manages very large data sets running into terabytes. Now, multi-dimensional data is not exactly big data. Remember, big data contains three V's, or three V's identify big data. Volume, very large data set of several terabytes or petabytes. We have velocity, the speed of input of data stream coming into this data. Big data have to be very high, from very fast, very high speed of data coming in. So the data set in big data grows exponentially. We also have variety. Big data contains different kind of data, not just rows and columns, but graphics, both audio, both videos, different kinds of data, both structured and unstructured data. This is big data. So multi-dimensional data kind of looks like that, but not exactly. So you see that using SSAS, we are talking about data that is not exactly a relational database and not also exactly big data. So that's why sometimes it becomes a bit confusing. So there is something Microsoft does. They kind of create something that belongs to them, kind of. So SSAS is part of a suite of three tools or three services called the Business Intelligence. It's made up of SSAS, that is SQL Server Analysis Services, SSRS, SQL Server Reporting Services for creating reports, and SSIS, SQL Server integration services for integrating data coming from different channels. Now, enough of all this talk. Let's now get into the real practical. I do expect you, however, to know what a database is, and somehow I also expect you to have in your system a database installed, SQL database installed with SQL Server Management Studio. So I expect you to have it. If you don't have it, you can quickly go to the website, Microsoft, download and install SQL Server Database. I think you can install the Developer Edition, which is free, and we are going to be using it in this tutorial. So if I go to Microsoft website, let's say, okay, so if you go to SQL Server Downloads, you are going to see the downloads. Simply go down and download the Developer Edition. After downloading the Developer Edition, you can now go down and you can see download SQL Server Management Studio and install. Okay, that I have done, so I'm not going to repeat the process again. So I've done it and I've opened Management Studio, as you can see, and I have one database. Now if you don't have a database, you have a default instance installed. Open it. So this is not this tutorial is not about databases, it's about SSAS. Alright, so we have Management Studio installed. So let's follow the steps at this time. We also need a number of things. We need the AdventureWorks 2019 database. Actually, AdventureWorks DW. AdventureWorks DW is a different database than AdventureWorks. Now, if you go to the download page where you have the link right there, you have this link, it will take you to this place. Now, the database we are going to be using to work with SSAS, it is this one, AdventureWorks DW 2019.back. So once you download it, keep it on your local system because we are going to be using it. Alright, let's get back to where we stopped. So let's see. So the next step says we need to, okay, now let's set up SSAS at this point. So to set up SSAS, you need to run the SQL Server installer again. So let's come here, and I have the installer right here on my system. Let me just show you. Okay, so I have AdventureWorks downloaded right here, and I also have Visual Studio. We are going to be coming to this later. So I have AdventureWorks right here, and also I have in my drive C. Go to my drive C. I have SQL installer as well right here. Let me just click. So what we are going to do, we are going to run the SQL installer. So I'm going to click on this setup and click on yes. Now all this procedure is right here in my website. So this is exactly what I'm following. So you can also follow it yourself. You can actually click to view the larger image if you want. So we are going to run the installer again. Meanwhile, let's close Management Studio. So when you run the installer, it comes to this page and choose installation from here and choose the first one that says new SQL Server standalone installation or add features to existing installation. So go next, and it takes you everything is okay. Go next. So in this case, I already have SQL Server installed in my system, so I have to kind of add analysis services to it. So firewall warnings, it doesn't matter. So go next. So I have some SQL installed at this point. So you can either do one of two things. You can add feature or you can perform new installation of analysis services. So simply add a feature to what you already have. So in this case, I will choose SDB1. That's the database instance I want to add a feature to, and click on next. So what we want to do at this point is to add analysis services. So if you look at this list, now this is very important. This list is very important. Now I have database engine services is installed as normal database. If you scroll down this list, you'll see analysis services. Let's see. You see analysis services, yeah, somewhere here. So simply select analysis services. It tells you it's going to take 636 megabytes and go next. Alright, so we are going to install analysis services. Simply go next. And now this is also very important. We need to select the server mode. First, I'm going to add the current user. You have three different options. For a beginner, we need to start with the tabular mode. That is the simplest kind of data model. I told you about multi-dimensional data model. We are going to be coming to that later on in this series. So I'm going to click on next, and the installation is going to start and then complete. Alright, so we click on install, and I think it's going to take a couple of seconds, so let's wait for a little while and then we continue. Or maybe as we are waiting, let's just look at the next option. So here we have the installation process, and after it installs completely, the next step is going to be, we are going to rerun the setup again, and this time we are going to install SQL Server data tools. Okay. Now, while it's installing, I'm going to tell you about data tools. You need to install SQL Server data tools. According to Microsoft, this tool has been integrated into Visual Studio. Now, it means that you need to install Visual Studio. However, you need to start the installation by running the setup exactly the same way we did to start installing analysis services. So, analysis services is installing. Let's see. So you can see that the setup completed successfully, and everything is fine, installed successful, and we have analysis services. That is fine. So I'm going to close. I'm going to close this. Now let's check if analysis services is actually there. So I'm going to go to Management Studio. This time we are going to try to connect to analysis services. However, that is not all. There are other things we need to install, which is SQL Server data tools. We need to install it. But for now, let's just check that we are able to connect to analysis services that we installed at this time. So once you have this login screen here, you are going to select the server name, which is this one. This time, if you drop down the server type, and you need to choose analysis services and click on connect. Now, once you connect to analysis services, this is a kind of interface or Windows environment you will see, and this means we connected successfully to analysis services. But that is not all. Before we can create analysis data model or SSAS data models, we need to do a little more. We need to install the data tools. So I'm going to close this, and let's proceed with the installation of data tools. So we are going to run the setup once again. Yes. This time you are going to click on installation, and you can see install SQL Server data tools. As you can see right here, I'm going to click on it, and it's going to take us to the website, or to the Microsoft website where we download our data tools. So if you look at the explanation, it says the core SSDT functionalities great database project has remained integral to Visual Studio. So you are now required to install SSDT with Visual Studio. So let's do it. So what you're going to do is to click on download Visual Studio Community. Don't know why this keeps coming up. So you are going to choose free download for this community edition right here. And once you download it, then it will be available for you in your file system. I already downloaded it, so you can see I have it right here. Okay, so I'm going to simply run it and click on run. So now we are installing data tools by installing Visual Studio. So I'm going to click on yes. Okay, so simply continue, and it's going to do a bit of download of required files, and let's just wait for a couple of minutes and then we continue. Alright, so when it comes to this page, you simply choose the first one that says ASP.NET Web and Web Development. Choose it. It's going to tell you it requires 8.25 gig. It's quite large, so I'm going to click on install, and we are going to wait for it to install. Let's just check where we are at this point. Alright, so this is where we are. We are trying to set up SQL Server data tools, and it's going to take a while, so let me just wait for a second and then we continue. Alright, so we can see that the installation complete successfully, and this time we are going to restart by clicking on restart, and let's see. Meanwhile, we can be checking the steps. So this is where we are installing data tools, and now the system is restarting, and let's see. Alright, so the system restarts. Let me just log in. I'm going to log in. So the first thing I'd like us to do at this point, let's first of all restore the database. Let's first restore the database we mentioned, which is the AdventureWorks DW that we downloaded. So let me close this. Alright, so I'm going to open Management Studio, and I'm going to restore the AdventureWorks DW database. Alright, so I'm going to connect, and first let me just take this AdventureWorks. Let's just make sure we have it right here. So we have it right here, AdventureWorks DW 2019, and this time I'm going to disconnect from analysis services, and I'm going to connect to database engine, and I'm going to simply wait for a second. Alright, so I'm going to go to databases and go to restore database. This time we want to restore the AdventureWorks DW database. So when you click on restore databases, it should open the dialog box. Okay, so it opens up, and what you can do, copy this location here and go to your file system right here and paste it. So here is the location of the backup at this. Don't know why my system is slow this time. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the backup file and paste it in that location so that the system will be able to see it. So I'm going to open here. I'm going to come here and copy AdventureWorks from here. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste here. Okay, so it's available at this point. So if I come back to the restore and click on add, so you can see AdventureWorks right here, and I'm going to say, okay, the reason we need this database restored in Management Studio as a normal database is because we will need this data coming from here to be a data source to our analysis model we are going to be creating. So I'm going to just say, okay. So the restore completed successfully, I think, and just say, okay. Alright, you can see that AdventureWorks was successfully restored to the server. So let's go to check what next step we need to take. So now we need to download AdventureWorks. We've done it. Open Management Studio, restore AdventureWorks. Now we need to open Visual Studio so that we'll be able to create data models. So I'm going to go to Start, and you can see Visual Studio 2019. Just open it, and for the first time this is how it's going to start. So once it gets to this page, you see a number of options: clone a repository, open a project or solution, open a local folder, or create a new project. So the one you are going to choose for now, you simply go with the option that says continue without code. Continue without code, it will give us option to now create a brand new tabular model in SSAS. So at this point, you are going to go to File, New. Once you go to New, you go to New Project, and under the project type, you are going to choose. Let's see. Okay. So under the project type, let's wait for a second. You are going to search for tabular model. So my system kind of is messing up. So you go to tabular model. So if you go to tabular model, you try to search for it, it's not there. So what we are going to do, we are going to add the tabular model extension. Again, the steps are right there. So simply go to extensions and go to manage extensions. Once you go to manage extensions, you can now search for tabular model from here. So let's wait for a couple of seconds and we should be able to find tabular model. All right, so you are going to see the first one that says Microsoft Analysis Services Projects. Simply click on download. So it will download and add it as an extension. And so we can create tabular model in Visual Studio. So it adds, but it requires that we need to, I think we need to close and reopen Microsoft Visual Studio. So I'm going to close it and then reopen it again. Right, so this is complete. So I'm going to click on close, kind of do some kind of refresh, and then I'm going to open Visual Studio 2019 again. And let's just check where we are. So at this point, we will be creating a new SSAS project, and this will be a tabular model project. Also go ahead to click on continue without code, and then go to File. Wait for a second, go to File and say New and choose New Project. And at this point, we will be able to choose tabular model. So let's wait for a second so that the system doesn't freeze up. So from this search box, search for tabular. You can see the first one says Analysis Services Tabular Project. Click on it and say Next. And I'm going to call it tabular tutorial, and leave everything the way it is and just click on create. Now once you click on create, it's going to open. Okay, now this is important. Also leave it at choose integrated workspace because this it eliminates the need to provide an explicit analysis service instance server. So I'm going to leave it at integrated workspace, and I'm going to say OK, and be able to pull data from there. So that's the next thing we are going to do at this point. Now if you go to models, you can see a number of things we mentioned. Now if you go back to my website, scroll up a little bit, you can see that here we say that multidimensional model is a data model that supports very large amount of data, similar to but not exactly big data. Multidimensional data model, in addition to tabular data, supports other things like dimensions, measures, perspectives, data sources, and okay, so this is, I'm repeating it 2 times. So now you can see these things mentioned here, but now we are going to start from the simple one from tables. Before we do that, let's first go to Server Explorer at this end and connect to our AdventureWorks DW database. So let's go from add a connection and let's choose Microsoft SQL Server. I'm going to say continue, and here, because it's kind of easier to work from here, because you can see a list of your databases in this case, and then select instead of entering the name manually. So I'm going to choose SDB1. So in this case, you can drop down and it will load up the list of databases, and you can see AdventureWorks DW, and test the connection. You can see the test connection succeeded. Say OK and say OK. So we've created a data connection, and let's wait for a second. So let's wait for a second so that we'll be able to see our data source here. Now AdventureWorks DW means AdventureWorks Data Warehouse. So here we have it. If you drop down, you can see the tables. Anyway, let me just mention at this point, I'd like to end this tutorial. For now, we've set up everything we need to be able to start creating data models in SSAS. So if you've come up to this point, thumbs up to you, you've done well. So at this point, you can actually take a look at all of this. Just play around in the environment so that you can see how it works. So you have all of these. You can import data source and stuff like that. So let me try to find create the second part, which is I'm going to break down step by step so that it becomes easier for you to follow. In this first part, I have to take some time to break it down so that it becomes clear to everyone. So in the next part, we are going to now create a tabular model and see how we can actually fetch data and view them in a data sheet in very simple and clear way. For now, I'm going to stop here, and please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any update from me, and feel free to leave me a comment if you have any challenges, and also like and share my video. I remain Kindson the Tech Pro, and I'm always there for you.